conditions, as well as let you know where some of the haze that we've seen this afternoon is rolling in from. So a big focus for this YouTube live is going to be about those fire weather conditions, but also what we can expect over the next couple of days as well. So we'll touch on that closer to the end. So if you can give me about 30 seconds to a minute, I'll get everything working here behind the scenes and we'll get fully started. In the meantime, I will spin this back around and show you those conditions across western Montana. And for the most part, we are quiet at this time, though there is a little bit of active weather down into southwestern Montana. But for I would say 95% of the region, we are all quiet right now. So I'll be back momentarily and we'll get fully started into this update. And there we go. All right, we are good to go. Everything's rolling, so I say let's dive right into this. I know we'll have people work their way in as we go throughout this update. But as you're tuning in, certainly let us know where you are tuning in from and the conditions that you are seeing outside. Again, for most of the region, we are pretty quiet right now. But as I flip the camera back around, I am going to show you the haze, especially down towards our Polson camera. I'll scooch this back just a little bit. We've been dealing with a fair amount of haze and smoke for Kalispell and Polson this afternoon. Some of that now starting to spread into the Missoula Valley as well. A lot of that smoke is actually from fires outside of Montana, and I'll show you the root cause of those, or at least the origin point for a lot of the smoke today in just a moment. But jumping into radar really quick, all is quiet for the region outside of southwestern Montana, and overall things are much quieter now than they were a short time ago. You can see those thunderstorms right on the edge of the screen down here, right along the Montana-Idaho border. I'll zoom in into those a little bit closer. But you see those thunderstorms rolling through into the afternoon. So let me zoom in a little bit closer into this region. The primary focus all afternoon has been this narrow zone from about Lima and Monida Pass across towards Lakeview, the Red Rock Lakes National Wildlife Refuge, Reynolds Pass, Targhee Pass, and into West Yellowstone, as well as up into Gardiner and Yellowstone National Park itself. You'll notice that general west to east motion, fair bit of rain, some gusty winds, 40 to 55 miles per hour in those thunderstorms, as well as lightning, and that may have, don't know for certain, may have helped to spark off a new fire close to Reynolds Pass. And we'll take a closer look at the Horn Fire here in just a moment, or at least that's what it's being designated as at this time. One other thing I want to bring up, and this is something I actually just noticed as I was popping in to do this live. Look back into Idaho. You see these bands of green out here, one north of Lewiston and northwest of Pullman, and two more, one north of Spokane and one here just on the southwest side of Lake Pend Oreille. That is wildfire smoke from fires that have become far more active this afternoon, and some of them I believe that started just recently over the last day or so. That is going to bring smoke into not only northwest and west central Montana, but as we take another look here in just a moment, we're seeing more fires blowing up across really across the west as a whole. I forgot to mention questions or comments. Feel free to ask those. I'll keep an eye on those in the chat section. Now, I mentioned earlier, northwest Montana had a lot of smoke filter in. I have this marked over here, the Bear Gulch Fire. This was an Olympic, or it still is burning over near Olympic National Park on the Olympic Peninsula, all west of Seattle. Throughout the day, and we've seen this plume of smoke coming off of that fire. You can see roughly in here kind of zigzagging its way back and forth. We saw one big plume move in around, say, 1 to 3 o'clock this afternoon, reduced air quality down into the moderate category for both Polson, Kalispell, and Libby. We saw that first wave move out, and we're starting to see more of that filter in. But the other thing I want to bring up, as we've gone throughout the afternoon, multiple smoke plumes from active fires have started to bring more smoke into the region. So I'm going to go through these in more detail here in a second, but here's one of those north of Spokane. A second one roughly in there. That's the one that's near Lake Ponderay. This one's that other one we saw on radar that was closer to the Pullman, Washington area. You can see that plume moving in. And then we get a little bit closer to home. We have a smaller smoke plume right here, kind of west of Lolo Pass. That, I believe, is called the Meyer Fire. But then you have these two down here, and those are really quite active. They're probably the most active fires within our region right now, producing a fair amount of smoke. So let's go right into the wildfire map. This has really expanded over the last 48 hours. There were not a whole lot of fires, I'd say this time last week, but in the last 24 to maybe 72 hours, multiple fires have been going, and today we've really seen those take off. So the ones that have been producing those smoke plumes, the Crescent Road fire north of Spokane, this is going to, all of these fires, the Crescent Road, Sunset, Custer, Lightning Creek, South Meadow Creek, which is in northwest Montana, and the Tioga and Hemlock Creek, most of this smoke will be heading off generally in this direction. So primarily for northwest Montana and areas north of Interstate 90 into west central portions of the state. The Sunset Fire, the Crescent Road, and the Central Ferry are the three that we could see producing those smoke plumes that were strong enough that they were being picked up by Doppler radar. Then we get into these down into more of, I'll say, central Idaho. The Meyer Fire, which is pretty close to the Montana-Idaho state line, this has been more active today. Latest update on that particular fire, sitting roughly, if I can get the correct information here, roughly at 100 acres. So this is just north of US 12, probably about 20 miles north, 20 to 30 miles north of US 12 and the Loxa River. And then we also have the Island Creek Fire to its south. That's about 650 acres. We've talked about the Big Bear and Rush fires. Not a whole lot of activity on those this afternoon. Still some, but nothing major, at least in comparison to some of the other fires that are ongoing. The two that have been the most active today, and you can see those smoke plumes even on this map, the Rock and the Elkhorn Fire. These are going to bring a lot of smoke into southwestern Montana. So really from about Butte down to Dillon, and then eventually over to Bozeman. We'll likely be looking at reduced air quality and a fair amount of haze just in the sky in general. Could lead to a pretty vibrant sunset, especially towards Wisdom, Jackson, Polaris, the Pioneer Mountains, and that area. The Rock Fire, as of last update, and I would be surprised if this wasn't bigger than it's already marked out, this is just on the west side of Lake Cascade in Idaho, and that is currently marked at about just under 1,900 acres on that particular fire. And if I'm correct, that was a very recent start. Actually, it was first noticed about 19 hours ago, so it's gone from nothing to almost 2,000 acres just today. And then the Elkhorn Fire, right there, a little bit further south, that one's been going for a little bit. Hasn't had a lot of updates, but we've really seen that activity increase. Last update was around 35 acres, but I think that is going to be significantly larger as of a new update. Now let's get into Montana. Those have been, our big fire producers, or smoke producers throughout the day today. But closer into home, we have, again, the South Meadow Creek Fire. That's up in far northwestern Montana, right along the state line. Last update on that is sitting right around, let me get the correct information for you here, around 60 acres on that fire. And we also have the Lightning Creek Fire just over the state line that's trying to encroach on the state line, around 2,500 acres. We also have the Gill Gulch Fire. It's been burning for a few days. Haven't seen a whole lot of change on it, still sitting right around 34 acres. And we also have the Wall Canyon Fire here in the mountains south and southwest of Alberton. That's sitting just under 3 acres, so a pretty small fire there. The most interesting one, at least I'll say, of today within Montana is the Horn Fire. This one started earlier up this afternoon, and as of last update, it's bounced up from 30 acres up to 400 acres, so still getting confirmation on that. But this is a new fire start from about 2:30 this afternoon, potentially caused by those thunderstorms that we were dealing with right along the state line earlier on in the day. And this is where I want to jump into our MDT map, the MDT 511 map. There is a road closure. Montana Highway 87 is closed due to this fire. And let me make sure I get the correct information here. So both sides of Highway 87 in the far southern end of Madison County is closed, though there are some evacuation warnings, essentially level 2, the set level around the highway here. One thing with this fire, we can actually see this from the Reynolds Pass camera here on the MDT webpage. This is looking southwest down at the road, and here we go looking to the north. So this is looking north up Montana Highway 87. You can see this burning right here on the ridge line. This has been growing in size, I don't know exactly right now the details of which directions it's growing fastest. Is it growing fastest to the south, or is it growing faster to the north? Throughout the day, I've been keeping a close eye on this particular camera, and it has been dropping down the ridge line right there. So we'll go back to that. Earlier on in the day, it was clearly behind this ridge, but through the afternoon, we've slowly seen this creeping down. So my guess is that it's probably growing more to the north and east. That would follow the wind flow with those thunderstorms we saw earlier. But as you can see, skies are clear right now, so that rain threat, at least for now, has tapered off. We're going to stay dry and windy for the rest of the evening, and likely overnight as well. Those winds aren't going to be coming down all too much. So there's a look at the Horn Fire. Again, right now the estimate is around 400 acres, but if you have any travel plans that take you down towards Island Park, Idaho on Montana 87, it might be best to take another route. Probably best actually to come across 287 back down into West Yellowstone, and then back down 20 into Idaho to get down to Island Park, which is down roughly right about there. So that's a look at that fire, and then I'll jump back to, we're not done with Montana fires just yet. Most of the other ones are down here in this cluster of southeastern Montana. Most of that smoke, again, is going to be heading out of our, well away from our area, but important to know, especially if you have friends or family down in this area, just to be aware, multiple active fires going on there. The Mission Butte fire is sitting around 500 acres. The One Star Fire is about 50 acres, and then the biggest in this area is the Summer Spring Fire, which is now estimated around 1,500 acres. The other two are right around that 25 to 50 acre, the Brown S and the Two Tree Fires. So that's a semi-quick rundown of all of the fires ongoing across Montana, as well as Idaho and into Washington. Just a key takeaway. The ones I have my closest attention on, the Horn Fire for our region, but also the Sunset and the South Meadow Creek fires closer to home, and the Meyer Fire, but also for smoke aspects of it and reduced air quality, Crescent Road, Central Ferry, Rock, and Elkhorn fires. We'll get new updates on those probably tomorrow as to the size of their growth. Now the Rock Fire, with how quickly it's growing, and the Central Ferry, maybe we'll see updates later on tonight. But again, those are technically outside, those are outside of our region, though we are seeing impacts due to those. So on to the next part of this. There's the fires that are ongoing, but the critical fire weather conditions are not done. We've got red flag warnings that remain in effect for much of southwestern Montana, as well as for the Flathead Reservation through about 8 to 9 o'clock this evening, though we aren't done there. This area east of Interstate 15, kind of this zone, so Interstate 15 over towards Ennis, right near Reynolds Pass, right where that Horn Fire started, and then areas closer over to the west of I-15, just in this zone. We do have the red flag warnings returning for tomorrow afternoon. That'll be from noon to 8 o'clock. So very similar conditions to today are expected. Gusty winds, 25 to 40 miles per hour, temperatures in the 80s and 90s. and relative humidity values down into the 10 to 20% range. So very dry conditions. So again, critical fire weather conditions. We will see some improvement as we get later on into the night. A lot of these will start to drop off over the next hour and a half or so, but still elevated fire weather risk for tomorrow. As for those temperatures tonight, we'll be seeing those falling from the 80s and 90s down into the 40s and 50s for most locations. 55 Kalispell and Missoula, 51 Butte, and 53 in Bozeman. Winds should subside as well, dropping from that 30 to 40 mile per hour range down to maybe 15 to 25. Not going to be completely calm by any means, but at least a little bit of improvement with that cold front sliding through throughout the rest of the evening and overnight. As for tomorrow, temperatures a fair bit cooler as compared to today in northwest Montana. 79 on that high in Kalispell, 85 Missoula, 83 in Butte, both of those relatively close to average for this time of the year. And Bozeman, where we aren't going to see quite as much in the way of impact from that cold front, still looking at temperatures into the upper 80s and lower 90s. Now, jumping into Future Tracker, this is looking a little bit ahead. Showers for this evening pretty much have tapered off, though a few up here in far northwestern Montana overnight can't be ruled out. I think they're going to be very spotty. Most of those stay across north central Montana over into the High Line. But still, a few sprinkles in northwest Montana. I won't rule those out. We will see a bit more cloud cover behind that cold front into tomorrow morning. Most of the region stays dry for Thursday afternoon, but much like today and in a very similar location and track, more thunderstorms develop from about Lima and Menida Pass up to West Yellowstone, maybe as far north as Big Sky tomorrow. That may be one little change, just a little bit further north, and then areas up towards Gardner, the Paradise Valley, and then in the direction of Billings, where we'll see some isolated showers and thunderstorms for the early afternoon, but say 5, 6 o'clock, other than a spotty shower or two, I think we're starting to dry out once again, and that is the only area where we're going to be dealing with showers and thunderstorms after tomorrow morning, at least as it stands right now. Winds tomorrow are going to be breezy again. Today we were in that 30 to 40 mile per hour range. Tomorrow, north of I-90, I think we're going to be more in that 15 to 25 mile per hour range. South of I-90, Dillon, West Yellowstone, Ennis, we're probably still in that 25 to 40 mile per hour range. And that's another reason why that critical fire weather conditions are going to be sticking around down into especially Beaverhead and Madison counties for Thursday afternoon. We'll see the winds staying a little bit breezy into Friday and Saturday. You see that 20 to 30 mile per hour range. Temperatures will be a bit cooler, though, as we head into the end of this week and the weekend, as that cold front continues to bring a bit more mild air. I won't say cool air, but cooler air. As for those precipitation chances outside of southwest Montana and the Canadian border, we're going to see those pretty much zero for Thursday, and then we get into Friday, and that's when things will start to change. This is a little bit deceiving, though. This is going to be the general look, about 10 to maybe 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, especially Sunday. But the reason I say that's deceiving is far northwestern Montana, and you'll see that here on our regional future tracker. Watch this plume of moisture stretching back from Oregon and Washington, and then it crosses into northern Idaho. Saturday morning, places like Libby, Troy, maybe even as far as, say, Thompson Falls, Trout Creek, Eureka. We're going to see this plume of moisture move through. That's going to be our zone that has the best chance to see over 1/10 of an inch of rainfall from Friday night into Saturday morning. As we get into the afternoon, some spotty showers will be possible area-wide. This main plume of moisture starts to kind of fall apart into the afternoon. I'm not going to call it an atmospheric river. Some people are. It's right on the edge of that. I think further off to the west it would classify as an atmospheric river, but I think for here we're just going to be looking at some steady rain in northwest Montana, spottier showers, really from, I'd say, Kalispell down to Thompson Falls and south, kind of on that line up into Glacier National Park, where likely not seeing quite as much in the way of precipitation. Then we get into Saturday afternoon again, spotty showers lingering area-wide, though only around, say, 10 to 20%. Sunday, this is trended a little bit further south, so more of an Interstate 90 and south type of focus for showers and thunderstorms. Right now, it does look like these could be isolated strong storms, so winds 40 to 55 miles per hour, frequent lightning, heavy rainfall, and maybe even some small hail with the strongest storms are going to be possible for Saturday and Sunday afternoon. And even into early next week's Monday, we could see a couple of disturbances rolling through with southwesterly flow. Can't rule out some more spotty showers and thunderstorms Monday, Tuesday. But in general, I think once we get into next week, a warming and drying trend is expected. Temperatures will be warming into the 80s and 90s once again, though spotty showers can't be ruled out. So I think that was the last graphic I had. What I will do, just give us one last look at that fire map because it is quite impressive and active. So here's the smoke plumes that you're seeing. Again, a couple in Idaho, as well as into the Idaho Panhandle, and then a few in Washington that are causing us problems, at least when it comes to air quality and the smoke itself. And here is a look at that fire map one more time. It has really filled out, especially on the western side of this map, into Idaho and Washington. Today's probably been one of the, I'll say, more aggressive fire days that we've had. It's also been our first, if I'm correct, our first red flag warnings within western Montana of the entire season. So we've had a relatively quiet fire season and a relatively quiet smoke season, all things considered, across the region, but I think that's kind of changing for today and potentially tomorrow. But we'll keep a close eye on things here. Most active fire in western Montana specifically is the newly ignited Horn Fire near Reynolds Pass, where we've been looking at the smoke plume from the Reynolds Pass camera, the MDT camera, so Montana Department of Transportation camera that's sitting right there at the pass. Looking to the north, you can see that smoke plume there, but hopefully that, at least within our region, that's the only fire that we see get going today. That same area has a red flag warning for tomorrow, and we have that continuing and for a few more hours until this afternoon, or until, I should say, later this evening, 8 to 9 o'clock. So that is where we are at. If you have any photos or videos of the showers and storms in southwest Montana, any of the smoke creating some vibrant sunsets tonight, certainly feel free to share those with us at nbcmontana.com/chime in. And then, of course, as always, tune into our live broadcast tonight at 10 o'clock. I'll have the latest weather updates. We'll have the latest news updates with Laurel Staples. And then tomorrow morning, NBC Montana Today with Jason Hurst and Chief Meteorologist Brooke Foster. So again, thank you all for tuning in this evening. Have a safe one, and I will see you all on the next one, potentially tomorrow, more likely as we head into Friday for here on YouTube Live. But certainly stay tuned, and I'll see you all on the next one. With NBC Montana, I'm meteorologist Mitchell Coombs.